we want to thank you all for coming. And before we get started, I just want to do a few little housekeeping so everybody knows how the event's going to progress here. There are restrooms across the hall, and Amber and I are going to just say a few words. And then we're going to have lunch, and we'd just like to invite anybody to come up and say some, speak your mind, your memories, anything you want to say. Feel free to come up to the podium during the lunchtime while we're eating. If you want to just stand up at your table and talk, we'd love to hear your memories and just share some stories. And then after we have lunch, we are going to do a small balloon release. We're trying to be environmentally friendly, and we're not going to release 85 balloons. We're only going to release a dozen. But we want to release them. She really wanted to do a balloon release at Opa's service, and we were all kind of in such a state that we forgot him, and I said, we're not forgetting those balloons this time. It's happening. So that's okay, you can go sit down. You're gonna make me cry. I'm trying to hold it together. The big joke was whether I should wear makeup today or not, so I'm going to do my very best, and I guess we're going to start. So, right, okay, this is already starting bad. I know, okay.
Teleprompter.
So, well, there's little angels on the table because I always thought that Kathe was such an angel, and right now I know she's looking down upon us because I can hear her wings fluttering and she is smiling. I still remember meeting Kathe when Roy and I were dating. I had heard her name so many times that I could not figure out exactly who she was. Was she an aunt, a cousin maybe? I wasn't sure, but I was excited to meet her, and we drove up, and there she was in her little VW, and I thought, oh my gosh, she is adorable. As you can imagine, she was happy and friendly, and she made me feel so welcome. That's just how she was, a friendly, sweet, happy person who was a joy to be around. At that time, she was still working for Unical, which I also thought was pretty cool. And we actually have several of her employees here today. Thank you so much for coming. She always talks so nice about work, and she loved her job, and I know it was the people there that made that difference. So thank you for making her work life happy. I imagine she was through at her work, and she was great with all the people there. But I wanted to understand who she was. Well, Roy said, she's Tante Kathe. She is my mom's best friend, but she's actually more like our second mom. And I said, oh, okay. And she really, truly was more like her second mom, his second mom, and that's how I always referred to her. When I introduced her, I said, this is Roy's second mom. So it was only natural when our kids were born that they called her Oma, which she was in the truest and most loving sense, their Oma Kathe. And she loved those kids, and they loved her. You could always count on Kathe. She was at every occasion. And she would not miss one. So when I would talk about to my family and friends, I would say the Omas and Opa. That's how they were. They were the three musketeers. They went everywhere together, especially when watching the kids or taking them on a trip. They really needed that one-on-one, but they always had the blast, and she was so good to them, and she was always so good to us. So going back in time a little bit, Marga and Kathe had an amazing friendship. They were the best of friends that would last a lifetime. I like to call them the original Thelma and Louise. They grew up together in Germany, and I imagine they were sweet little girls and probably quite a handful. That friendship would bring them to the U.S. together, where they would start their adult lives. Tante Gesine and Uncle Herbert were so kind and generous and sponsored them, and when they arrived, they both worked in upper-class San Francisco homes as nannies and housekeepers. About a year ago, we actually took a drive with them out to San Francisco, and we drove by the homes that they worked in, and they told us all about the people, and it was so nice. We know that our time is limited, and it's so important to take time to just find out their history and how, what brought them to where they were. And it was a really nice day. We had lunch, and I'll never forget that day. So as the story goes, when they worked in San Francisco, They would get together on their days off and they would go out dancing a lot. Eventually, Marga met Gottfried and they were married, but Kathe had an ambition to do more. She was interested in a career. So she went to night school and she earned her certificate. And from there, she landed the Unical job where she was respected and employed there for actually 31 years. She retired from Unical. And she just loved her job. So after retiring from Unical, she did some traveling and later decided to go back to work and got a job at Baby Wonderland. She really enjoyed working there, and the people she worked for, they're actually here today, Val and Dorothy in the back. They're the owners of Baby Wonderland, and she had nothing but just wonderful things to say about you. Dorothy wrote us a heartfelt, this one's gonna rip me up. Dorothy wrote us a heartfelt letter that I wanted to share some of her words with you. This is from Dorothy. She said, "We were very blessed to have known Kathe. Rita told us she had passed on the 20th. My calendar says that is the first day of summer. It fits. Kathe was like a breath of summer. If you were lucky enough to know her, you did not forget her." When I read that, of course, Marga and I both were just bawling like crazy. And we've been crying a lot. Those words were so true and so fitting. That is how she was, like a breath of summer. Thank you for that, Dorothy. When I look back at all that Kathe has accomplished in her life, she had a family who loved her in Germany. She actually is survived by 4 nephews. I believe they're all married, and they have kids. 2 of them just actually had children. We ordered some little outfits online and sent them to Germany for her, and they loved her, and she kept in contact with all of them. And she had her U.S. family and so many close friends here that loved and cherished her. She was accomplished and well-loved in her work life, and as a single woman, she managed to own her own home, and she was just very independent and just amazing thing to me. And she lived a very happy life. But not to forget, she was also a cancer survivor. She had a double mastectomy. She suffered from breast cancer, and she just pulled through that amazingly well. I honestly thought she was invincible. She was truly a beautiful person inside and out, and we could not have been more fortunate to have had such a wonderful role model in our lives and in our children's lives. As you know, Gottfried passed away earlier this year and suffered with Alzheimer's for so many years prior. Kathe was always there for us and for him. She went several times a week with Marga to visit Gottfried, and when the decision was made to combine our households, she was there to support us as well. She housed Marga during the construction, and I don't even know where if we could have made it without her. I honestly don't even think we asked her. She just was there, and Marga moved in and stayed with her while it was needed. And we'll always be grateful for her for that. When remembering Kathe, I will always remember how she always looked so perfect, so effortlessly beautiful. She had a great sense of style, was always gracious and happy, and of course her friendly personality and passion for life and people. Like you, we cannot believe she is gone. Somehow I think her work here was done, but it does not make it easy for us. We can be grateful that it went fast for her and that we will always have her in our memory, in our hearts, and as an example of how to live a beautiful life. We love you, Kathe, and we will miss you always. I'd like to invite Amber up, who has a few words. Amber is Kathe's goddaughter, and we'll go from there.
Oh, my goodness. I'm usually good about not crying when I don't want to, but excuse me, I tear myself up here. Okay, so my name's Amber. Introduced me as Kathe's goddaughter, but I'm more of her her granddaughter. We grew up really close together. Thank you for the tissues. Okay. Growing up, I was blessed not only with 2 grandmothers, but 4. I had my birth grandmother on my father's side that passed away when I was little. And then I was gifted with a step-grandma. On my mother's side, I not only had my lovely Oma, but I was lucky to have my Oma Kathe. In German, we call her Tana Kathe, Tana meaning aunt, but in my heart, she was always my Oma. In December of '55, Kathe came to America with her best friend, my bud grandma. They've been best friends ever since. The bond they share is so strong, it's hard to consider her anything other than family. Family, something that Kathe technically did not have a lot of. You would think growing old without a husband or children would leave you lonely, but Kathe was never lonely with our family. We absorbed her and welcomed her with our hearts as much as you would welcome any other family member, and that's exactly what she was to us, family. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Oma Kathe had such a fiery and adventurous soul. She was always up and moving, never seeming to sit still. When I was in the hospital about a week before her passing, I told her that when she gets out, we're going skydiving together. She gave me her famous and shook her head. She was feisty and always spoke her mind. She lived for adventure. You can't come to another country alone not to expect an adventurous life, and that's exactly what she got. I was lucky to experience one of these big adventures with her. When I was a freshman in high school, I took one of the greatest trips of my life with this woman. Together we flew to Germany. I was introduced to their school system and shown around the beautiful country she grew up in, and let me tell you, it is beautiful. Her open heart is something that I will always be thankful for, and for showing me around the country. I was so lucky to be the one person she brought with her. The appreciation I have for her is greater than anything on the planet. When I was younger, I would sleep over at Oma Kathe's apartments on the weekends when I didn't have school. I was there a lot. I would admire her crystal figurine collection of little animals, and we would watch Jeopardy every night before we went to bed together, and we would eat snacks every night. Before we went to sleep, she would always tuck me in and read me a story, and that happened every single night. That was something I could always count on. In the mornings, I would always wake up to the smell of eggs and toast and hear her little kettle on the oven screaming that her water was hot enough for her coffee. Then together we would share a bowl of fruit and plan out whatever our day entailed together. Kathe's death came suddenly. It was truly a shock for everyone when she was admitted into the hospital. She was battling breast cancer for years, and right when we think we're in the clear, the world came tumbling down on us. In March, we lost one of the greatest men in the world, my grandpa. In April, we held his funeral and life celebration. Oma Kathe was there for both of those. Little did we know, less than 3 months later, we would be sending another beautiful angel up to Jesus. I know that he will always welcome her with open arms. I couldn't imagine anyone who wouldn't. We loved her, but God loved her more. My God, being able to say that I grew up so close to this woman is one of the greatest feelings in the world. She is an inspiration, and I will forever walk with the lessons she taught me and the love she shared with me through her soul. I know this speech is also about my lost grandmother, but I would like to quickly mention how strong my Oma here is. I know how hard it must be for you to say goodbye to two of the most important people in your life. But my God, you are handling this with such grace and bravery that I don't think any of us would have the strength to endure if we were in your shoes. You're the strongest woman I know, and I am so incredibly lucky to say that I share the same blood as you. Oma Kathe is near us all, even if we don't see her. She is close. She's in our hearts, our minds, and our life, always.